An Australian permanent resident, what does it mean? Being a permanent resident in Australia, permanent residency, PR, what does it all mean? Especially if it's now becoming harder to become an Australian citizen since the changes to citizenship regulations brought in April 2017. Australian permanent residency. Now, most of Down Under Visa's Filipino visa applicants apply for partner visas, of course. And Australian partner visas are that little bit different in that they have a temporary visa stage. Now, only in certain circumstances of long-term relationships will the department bypass the temporary visa stage and grant a permanent visa with no temporary stage. The difference is that, well, there is very little difference practically between a temporary partner visa and a permanent partner visa, apart from the citizenship issue. The issue for many right now is facing the uncertainty of what may happen with Australian citizenship and their ability to apply for Australian citizenship. Prime Minister Turnbull, in his infinite wisdom and far-reaching vision, has decided it's in the national interest to make migrants to Australia wait longer and to work harder to get Australian citizenship by grant. Now, what happens if you can't pass the English test? What if you can't pass the citizenship test? And what if they deem you haven't assimilated well enough into the Australian community? Now, what does it mean if you remain a permanent resident, at least for a while? Now, are there any disadvantages to permanent residency? Well, not that many actually. And there are plenty of people from the Philippines and other countries living in Australia permanently without taking the oath of citizenship. Now, they remain in Australia and they may in fact live the rest of their lives in Australia without a problem. Now, some may have personal reasons for doing this, and of course some will no doubt procrastinate and put it off for years, always thinking, yes, I must do that. Others, well, some countries don't allow dual citizenship. If you are, for example, a Malaysian citizen, if you take Australian citizenship, then you lose your Malaysian citizenship. And if a US citizen even becomes naturalised, it's a strange old term for citizenship by grant, in Australia they will lose their US citizenship. Now, not too many people are actually prepared to do that. Filipinos, though, may obtain dual citizenship. Now, I'll explain the technicality in a sec, but it can be done, and you can remain a fully fledged Filipina, as well as being an Aussie afterwards, so this isn't a problem. Now, just take note that technically you lose your Filipino citizenship when you acquire Australian citizenship. However, you may regain this by swearing an oath of allegiance at the nearest Philippines embassy or consulate or Bureau of Immigration office if you are in the Philippines at the time. It takes you about 5 minutes. It's formality. You need to do it, but yes, anyway, it doesn't stop you becoming a dual citizen. Now, disadvantages of remaining a permanent resident only. Okay, firstly, you can't vote. Now, if you decide for yourself if you see this as a serious disadvantage, especially in light of some of the politicians' bizarre decisions lately, they're really worth voting for. You can't become a politician as a bar for you to decide whether that matters to you or not. You can't join the Australian Defence Forces. You can't go and join the Australian Army or Navy or whatever. Now, that would be a disadvantage to only a select few, I would think. Now, you can't have an Australian passport. Now, having an Australian passport can be a definite advantage, of course. There are many countries that will allow Australian citizens to enter freely, but they won't extend that same welcome to a Filipino citizen. Now, you need to decide for yourselves if this is something that matters a great deal to you or not. Now, you can be deported under some circumstances. Now, in the Philippines, you can be deported and declared persona non grata. It's basically an unwelcome person who can't return for a variety of reasons. However, in Australia, there have only been a handful of cases where this has happened. Now, you could be deported if you are convicted of certain serious crimes and have been jailed for these serious crimes, or you are considered a threat to the security of Australia. For example, you're part of a terrorist group or something like that. So it can happen. And you don't have the same unrestricted travel as a citizen does. Now, an Australian citizen may come and go from Australia as they please, and they may do so for the rest of their lives. You may leave Australia and you may come back 20 years later, no problems. Permanent resident, you are issued with a resident return visa when your partner visa is your permanent partner visa. Any visa, I should say, is granted, and this lasts for 5 years only. Now, if you spend less than 2 of these 5 years inside Australia, you will need to explain and justify why you should get another one. Now, I'll explain this in more detail in the following article. But note that you don't lose your permanent resident status in Australia. You can, however, lose the right to return if you're not careful. So it's a very important point. The other one is emotional reasons. So if you feel Australia is your home, which especially you're going to do that if your husband and kids are Australian, then you will want to take the plunge, and good on you for that. You do everything you can to achieve your dream, and don't ever let politically motivated decisions of our elected leaders and wise men in Canberra make you feel in any way unwelcome. But if it takes you some time, you will be no less valued a member of Australian society as you are right now. Thank you. This video was brought to you by Down Under Visa, who specialise in visas for Australian Filipino couples. Please visit our website and complete a free visa assessment form. And please watch some of our other videos. Thank you.